Hello everybody and welcome to Character Creation and Introduction to Baldur's Gate. Now, I've actually already beaten Baldur's Gate 1. I have not yet completed Siege of Dragonspear, but I wanted to come back and go through the character creation process for anyone who missed it. This is of course part of the CRPG event, and we'll be using this one character through all of Baldur's Gate, Siege of Dragonspear, Baldur's Gate 2, and Throne of Bhaal. So this character creation is pretty important. I just wanted to show you guys what the character was like when I first started it. Let you guys see his stats, why I picked that, what class he is, why I picked that class, sort of explain the process, and talk a little bit about Baldur's Gate itself. So for anyone who doesn't know, Baldur's Gate is one of the classic CRPG or computer RPG games. Baldur's Gate 2 is really what set the gold standard, but I believe, I might be wrong on this, but I believe Baldur's Gate 1 was the first game to use this engine. And this is a classic engine. It was used for Baldur's Gate 2, Icewind Dale, Planescape Torment, and more recently for Pillars of Eternity. I mean, it's a 20-year-old engine, but it's so solid that PoE was made on it. Although that is also a callback to the sort of gaming of old. But it follows the adventures of the main character, also known as the Ballspawn, who grows up in... It takes place in the Forgotten Realms, so that's probably worth mentioning. And your adventures go across Faerun and a little bit on the Outer Planes, but not too much. But it follows a character who grows up in the scholarly stronghold of Candlekeep. And you go and learn about your heritage, you're the spawn of an old dead god, and go on this crazy adventure, and then it goes well beyond that, and I don't want to spoil too much, just giving out basics here, but yeah, it's considered, you know, one of the best computer RPGs of all time. It's certainly one of my favorites. And so yeah, so let's get into character creation. Again, I'm just remaking the character I've already played through the game with, and so we'll see what's up. So I started male. No particular reason, just felt like playing a male character. I'm using a custom portrait. This one right here. It's just from a pack. I just thought it looked pretty good for a thief, which is what we ended up going with. Oh, and I'm not using any mods either. I'm playing the Enhanced Edition. The only thing I'm using that could be considered a mod is the portrait pack. I imported, like, I think 20-something portraits. I just downloaded a pack of them, I believe, off Nexus Mods, and, you know, drop it right in. The game has full support for custom portraits. Okay, so we've got our male character here, and I went with Elf. When you make the character, you kind of need to pick race and class and kit all at the same time. I mean, you know, you pick them in order here, but they really work into each other significantly. And so we picked Elf here, and the reason is because I think they're one of the better thief races, or races for thief. And the reason why is, you know, they get the open locks, pickpockets, move silently, and hide in shadows bonus, which is pretty good. It's not nearly as big of a thief bonus as you get on Halfling. Does Gnome have one? Yeah, Gnome has one too. I believe Dwarf even has... Yeah, Dwarf has a bonus too. The other big reason, though, is the one Thaco bonus with bows, short swords, and long swords. In an enhanced edition, this has been fixed. If you played this game a long time ago, you'd know that it said this, but applied to all weapons. Now it really only does apply to short swords, long swords, and bows. As well as 1 dexterity and -1 constitution. Now, the reason this is a big deal is, if you guys don't know about the Thaco system, THAC0 is to hit armor class 0. And so it gives you a number that you would need to land an attack if somebody had 0 armor class. And 0 armor class is very good. I believe base armor class is 10. And 0 armor class is, if I'm not mistaken, full plate with no dexterity mod. And so you actually go down when you equip armor. You know, the more armor you have, you start to go into the negatives. But the THAC0 system is extremely complicated, but the main thing you need to know is that more so than current D&D armor class and base attack bonus systems, it really favors classes that have high THAC0. Oops, one second. So, Thief does not have good THAC0 growth. It gets 1 THAC0, I think it's every other level, every 3rd level. I'll see in a second and make note of it. But it is very hard for a Thief to hit something. And we just had a bit of a jump cut so I could edit out my phone ringing. But as I was saying, Thieves don't get good THAC0 growth. So it's very difficult for them to hit enemies. And people will say, oh, it's not a big deal until later levels. But it is. I mean, I've played this game enough times to know that, a thief has trouble hitting, like, goblins. I mean, it's bad. And so Elf gets this 1 bonus to bonus with bows, short swords, and long swords. So it limits you into using short swords or long swords. Well, you're not limited. You can use whatever you want. But you get this... It really helps to have that 1 extra to hit with these weapons. Thief is a pretty good choice for bows, too. You can use a short bow to much effect. There's some good short bows in the game, and things like dispelling arrows. And, there's good short swords, and there's very, very good long swords in the game, especially in Baldur's Gate 2. And as far as, it affects you more at later levels, Baldur's Gate 2 goes all the way up to level 40-something. So, yeah, it's a big deal. I mean, when you're that high and have had nothing but a low growth class for that long, every little bit helps. I mean, the +1 isn't going to be monumental in the long run. It's certainly a big deal in Baldur's Gate 1. And, it's every little bit helps. And then you've also got the 1 to Dexterity, -1 to Constitution. Now, the way Constitution works is there are thresholds. So, I think, I'm not 100% sure, but the reason I wasn't too cautious about losing Constitution is I know a lot of different classes, and I'm almost positive Thief is included in this, don't gain more hit points per level past 16 Constitution. And you can still have 17 with the -1. And so I don't think this affects Thief HP. Now, Dexterity does affect armor class, which is, probably more important in the long run than hit points, just because if someone can't hit you, it can't do damage. And it gives you further bonus to hit with bows and other range. Well, mostly bows. I think darts, throwing knives, maybe crossbows also use dexterity mod. So now we've actually got a pretty good chance to hit an enemy with a bow as an elf, because we've got the bonus for the bow as well as the additional dexterity. Not to mention, your dexterity mod directly affects thieving skills. It doesn't say this anywhere. The game is very cryptic. You have to kind of look up this information online or playtest it yourself. But every point of dexterity gives you bonuses to your thieving skills. So, Elf was my choice for race because I bounced around several other things. I was looking at Bard and Ranger and even Cleric, but settled on Thief, and I really like the idea of the Elven Thief. Getting that extra Thaco, getting that extra dexterity. You know, the skill bonus isn't the best on Elf, but it's there. It's not like Half-Orc where you just get nothing. Although Half-Orc, probably the best race in the game overall because strength on bonus, but that's neither here nor there. And also 90% resistance against charm and sleep magics. That's a big deal. I mean, that means, you know, you get charm and sleep thrown at you a lot. And that's a 90% chance to just shrug it off. And infravision, who cares? You can see in the dark. But there we go. We have our elf. Now, the next thing we've got is our class. And as I've mentioned 100 times by now, I decided to play Thief. Excuse me, I had to get some water. I was bouncing around a couple different classes. There's actually more than what you see here. This is just what's available to the race. Now, in base Baldur's Gate, there's not kits. There's not class kits. There's just classes. But in Baldur's Gate 2, they added these things called kits. They're kind of like prestige classes or archetypes if you're playing, you know, 5th edition. By the way, this is in Dungeons & Dragons 2.0. But Baldur's Gate 2 added these kits, and Baldur's Gate Enhanced Edition, which is what we're playing on now, went back and added the kits to the original Baldur's Gate. And we will be using a kit, too. Just wanted to give a quick introduction to that. So, basic things about Thief. May not wear armor heavier than studded leather. The exception is Elven chainmail, but we'll get to that if I ever use any. May not equip shields larger than bucklers, so you get shields. May only use the following weapons: longsword, short sword, katana, scimitar, dagger, club, quarterstaff, crossbow, short bow, dart, and sling. Now, as we talked about, we've got the bonus to longsword, short sword, and short bow. I'm going to be focusing on those. May only become proficient one slot in any weapon class. That is, weapon proficiency gives you bonuses for using certain weapon types. Proficient is not good. Proficient means that, you know, you have the smallest bonus with a weapon. It's another downside of being the thief. Not only do they have the low Thaco, they have the low proficiency. And one proficient slot in any fighting style. You know, that's 2 weapons, 2-handed weapon, single weapon, weapon and shield. May distribute 25 points per level, 40 at level 1 in thieving abilities. That means you get to improve your thief skills per level. In this old version of D&D, there's not feats, there's not, you know, skills for every class on level, and you have a bonus to certain ones, and you can take certain ones higher. The only people that get skills per level are that's not true. The rangers get like hide and move silently, but you get the full range of skills as thief. The skills being open locks, pickpockets, find traps, move silently, hide in shadows, detect illusions, and set traps. Starts with base scores of 10% in all of these. That's, you know, your base ability. May backstab for increased damage. You know, your 2 times, 3 times, 4, and then at 13 plus, your 5 times backstab. And it doesn't say it here, but backstab actually gets a large Thaco bonus, so you have the ability to hit an enemy if you're in stealth going for the backstab. And so that helps out a lot on Thief. May use the set snare ability once per day, gains an additional use every 5 levels thereafter. This is one of the reasons I picked Thief. Set snare is really cool. You just, you know, you can put the trap down somewhere. It will last until you either leave the area or it goes off. So, you know, you can rest and actually stack up these traps and get several in a location. You can have up to 7 at one point, in one time. Now, the trap will hit everything in range and activates at about the same range as a short bow. So, you know, first level trap, 2d8 plus 5 missile damage. That doesn't sound that great until you realize that it'll do, you know, 2d8 plus 5 to everything in range of it. And the traps scale with you. So at level 11 they do more in poison. 16 they do even more and do a ton of fire as well. And beyond level 20 they just demolish things. And so they have 6 hit dice and can't be lawful good. So that's the basics of Thief. And then here are your kits. So kits, again, are like archetypes or prestige classes. They change the class. Some of them are fundamental changes, big differences. Other kits aren't that much. With Thief, you have Assassin, who gets better backstabs. Bounty Hunter, who's the trap base. Swashbuckler, who's just a bad fighter. And Shadow Dancer, who's in stealth and combat. I went with Bounty Hunter. So Bounty Hunter is the trap-based thief. The advantages are they get an additional 15% to set traps, and they can use the special snare ability, which they get 1 per day and gain it at the same rate you gain the normal snare. Now, you can only set it when there are no enemies nearby, and the base trap is 3d8 instead of 2d8 plus 5, and it slows every target it hits. At level 11, this becomes hold target, so it hits them with hold person, which just stuns them flat out, with a -1 penalty to the save, so it's harder to save against. At level 16, it doesn't do damage anymore, but it casts Otiluk's Resilient Sphere for 7 rounds. This, I believe the term these days is stasis. If they're hit with this, they can't be damaged, but they can't move either. They're kind of taken out of the fight. And at level 21 and on, it mazes the target, no saving throw. Maze actually teleports enemies like off into a pocket plane with a labyrinth in it, and they have an intelligence check every turn to see if they can escape the maze. And I believe it lasts for a maximum of 10 turns. But if they're hit by this trap, they're just taken off of the map. And that's pretty amazing, because it combos well with the other traps. You can use this to take targets off of the map, and then place traps down where they're going to come back. And, you know, just use it to remove them from fights, and unlike the Resilient Sphere, it can't be dispelled, it can't be broken. It just takes them out. And the disadvantage to Bounty Hunter, the only difference between Bounty Hunter and normal Thief, is they can only distribute 20 skill points per level instead of 25. This is the other big reason I picked Bounty Hunter. The other kits seem to fundamentally change the class a lot. Bounty Hunter doesn't. Bounty Hunter is still the same fundamental class as a Thief, that just has better traps and 5 less skill points. For alignment, we went true neutral. I want to use some evil companions, I want to use some good companions, and it just fits character lore. Thief, out for themselves, true neutral, you know, trying to keep balance in the world. Okay, now, for ability scores, I'm trying to remember exactly which ones I had. These are not valid anymore, because there are tomes in-game that will raise your ability scores. There's one for every ability, except for Wisdom, where there's 3. So, these will all be +1. I think I got them all. So these will all be +1, and then Wisdom will be +3 from what it starts as. I believe you can reroll as much as you want. You can reroll until you get like 92, 93. That's excessive, and that feels like exploiting, even though you can just sit here and do it. I think I rerolled until I got above 80. If I remember correctly, I think I got 83 or 84. Here's an 85, so I can show you sort of what I did. Now, it uses a stat buying system where you can, you know, adjust the This is the total number you get, and you can adjust it sort of as you see fit. Now, I had strength at 18 because your damage, there's no weapon finesse, your damage is based off of your strength. Dexterity at 19, which is, again, for the better armor class, the better thieving abilities, and the better chance to hit with missile weapons. Constitution, I had up to 17. I wasn't sure whether or not above 16 did anything. Went 17 just to be safe. Intelligence, I had at 18. Because, actually, it looks like I had a higher roll than this, believe it or not. Because I think I had even higher wisdom than I do here. I got intelligence to 18. Intelligence is actually a dump stat. You don't need it for anything. If you run into mind flayers, they can drain your intelligence, and if it hits 0, it kills you. And your character gets a speech impediment if it's below 8, it looks like. And yeah, if you're below 8, you can't use wands or scrolls. You can't use scrolls anyway on Thief. At least not arcane. I think you can use faith scrolls. And there are a couple wands you can use. And it just kind of fit my character lore a little more. You know, I like the idea of being this sort of smart thief that uses all these traps. And then I had charisma at base at 8 and wisdom. Oh man, did I roll higher than an 85? It doesn't matter because I don't really use these two. Charisma is not bad. It gives you cheaper prices at stores. Although it doesn't affect it nearly as much as reputation does. Wisdom, I don't think does anything for a thief. If you use the wish spell from the scroll, it would. I don't want to get into the mechanics of wish. You can look it up if you want. But something along these lines. These are the important ones. I know I had maxed out intelligence. And I had these first 4 maxed out, which is a good roll. And of course, I got the bonuses to all of them. So my strength is at 19, my dexterity is at 20, constitution at 18, intelligence at 19. And these are higher too. So 9 charisma, and I don't remember what my wisdom is. Skills, here we go. I think I started with like base on both of these. I think I actually just dumped all of my level 1 points in a set trap to start at 50. Because I figured I could get by with the other ones. Sort of where they were. When I get into Baldur's Gate 2, I'll import the character and everybody can see what the character's become with. And, I mean, I'll be playing Siege of Dragonspear today, so if you want an update on how the skills are doing, just go watch the stream. And I started with a point in Short Sword, because we've got that, again, that elf bonus for Short Sword and Long Sword. And I knew where a good Short Sword was to start the game. I know there are good longswords in BJ1. I didn't know where they were offhand. And so 1 point means you can use the weapon with no penalty. Oh yeah, I forgot. So yeah, if you don't have a proficiency, you get penalized using the weapon, which is rough. Because Thief already has trouble hitting things. And also started with single weapon style. So if you have single weapon style, you get 1 armor when you use a weapon with no offhander and no shield, which is very good because, again, you want to avoid getting hit. And critical damage is inflicted on 19 or 20 instead of 20. That means you're doubling your critical strike rate. And Thief Thaco is so bad, you often have to roll like a 17 or higher to even hit the enemy. So having that crit on 19 or 20 means you just crit on a big chunk of the applicable hits you get anyway. And as the character leveled up, I know I also put a point into short bow and a point into longsword. And I think that's all I've gotten. I might pick up like katana or scimitar or something, but I would lose the elf bonus. So I've got all the important stuff now. by the end of BG1. Appearance. With the appearance, I tried to just match the portrait, just for the sake of consistency. So hair was white, skin was on the paler side. Oh, that's like white. I don't remember which one of these tones. You can also change this at any time in game. And then major, I think I had like dark green and like dark gray. I think I use the earnest voice. I'll be changing that in BG2 when there are more options for voice. And we named the character Will. No particular reason for that. And there we go. There's our base thief, which we use to play through the game. And right after this, I will bring up a quick image of the current character sheet, show you guys what the character looks like now going into Siege of Dragonspear. But yeah, this is it. This is the character for our big CRPG adventure. Character creation took a bit longer than I thought it would, especially because you know, this is just a recreation. But I wanted everybody to sort of get a glimpse into the creation process, understand why I picked what I did. Yeah, I did this on stream too, so I had a little bit of input from outside sources. And yeah, so this is it. And I will see you guys back for another video like this in when we hit BG2.